On Nothing Important, we are fortunate enough to be able to interview a lot of celebrities and a lot of interesting people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, famously, not really famously, but I guess famously amongst us, you know who John Taffer is, right, from Bar Rescue?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I remember.
Right. And for shits and giggles, I wrote his agent to see if we could get him on the show. The agent said no, follow up later. So I wrote again later, follow up later. This is like over the course of weeks, So it's not like I'm harassing the guy. Really all I wanted to do is ask John Taffer why he doesn't blink. Because if you ever watch Bar Rescue, the dude never blinks. So eventually, this guy keeps telling me, right back. And eventually, I get an email from his agent that pretty much says, don't contact me because John Taffer will never be on your fucking show, right? which is fine,
right?
Because it's John Taffer, so big whoop, right?
Right.
But as I was going through emails today and working with other agents and other celebrities, man, somebody's drag racing. Other celebrities and stuff and trying to get them on the show, I happen back upon the John Taffer emails. So then I get the bright idea. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write John Taffer's agent one more time, but I'm going to ask him if he could be on our show about Rick and Morty.
Yes.
There's no way John Taffer will ever be on a podcast, well, our podcast, no less one about Rick and Morty. But if I get a response back, I'm going to read it here on
that's
Plumbus
fantastic.
Among Us.
And you never know until you reach out, and maybe he is a secret huge Rick and Morty fan, and you don't know that. I mean, he can talk to us while he's not blinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Plumbus Among Us, the Rick and Morty podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is my lifelong hetero soulmate, El Jefe. El Jefe, how you doing today?
Sehr gut.
Indeed. Now, Jeff and I also host the Nothing Important podcast with our buddy Dave. Episodes are kind of sporadic right now, but new ones are coming soon, and we'll put another full season into swing here coming up shortly. And, of course, you can find us on It's All Good Man, the Better Call Saul podcast. You can find that at itsallgoodman.com. All of our podcasts are available at nothingimportantpodcast.com. or iTunes, and you can check out A Plumbus Among Us and It's All Good Man on the TV Time app. TV Time, it's pretty much like a phone-based message board for all your favorite TV shows. It's absolutely stellar. You can meme, send pictures, all sorts of good stuff. So please make sure that you check out the TV Time app. Before we get going, we once again hit the iTunes charts for A Plumbus Among Us. Thank you so much. We were about 20 spots higher than we were the last time we were on the charts, which is awesome. And if I could brag a little bit, I do 3 podcasts currently, and now all 3 of them have charted multiple times on iTunes.
Who charted?
We charted.
Yes. There you go.
And some would say the common denominator must be Brian. I don't think that's true. I think the common denominator is that none of us know what the fuck we're doing. And for some reason, that allows us to get on the iTunes charts.
And people like listening to people who don't know what they're doing on the radio or their phone or whatever the hell they're doing. So thanks, everybody, for going and listening to us and downloading and taking that time out of your day to spend it with 2 people who have kind of nothing better to do for at least an hour.
Indeed. Make sure to leave those 5-star reviews, and make sure to hit us up on Twitter at A Plumbus Among Us. Now, so today we are talking about episode 308, Morty's Mind Blowers. Stellar name. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
This episode, it's so dense. So much shit went on. And so I think what we should attempt to do is just let's try to go through some of the memories. Okay. And then we'll just get the fuck out of here before we embarrass ourselves further.
That sounds great. I'll start out though asking it. What did you think of this episode?
I really like this episode. It was so ridiculous, and I'm kind of glad that they did it over that interstellar or interdimensional cable.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it over that. And usually I hate when TV shows break the fourth wall. But Rick and Morty seems to do it in such a fashion where it just kind of works for the show. So I'm glad that they themselves said, yeah, we're doing this instead of interdimensional cable. But I really liked it. It gave a lot of insight into Rick and Morty's adventures that we don't see, and puts a lot of things in perspective.
Okay.
Just yourself?
I enjoyed it for the fact of the way that it expanded on canon in just stupid ways. Because each one of the individual stories, I mean, if it's a memory, it actually, technically, I guess, did happen to Morty or Rick or whomever is in it. And right. So that's fun that way. I will say I did miss the Justin riffing in the booth, and you can tell that he's cracking up or just making up on the spot. For whatever reason, that's got a soft spot in my heart. So I will say I missed that. But I did enjoy what was happening here. Glad they actually sat down and kind of wrote something this time for just try something out.
Well, maybe in 2.5 years when season 4 debuts, and maybe then they'll have Interdimensional Cable 5, and the whole joke will be that we missed like 3 of them. So,
well, they were all removed from our memory, probably.
Yeah, probably. All right, so long story short, to set this whole thing in motion is Morty wants his a traumatic memory removed, and this leads Rick to revealing a room that's, I guess, a library, just full of... Yeah,
I'd call it that. Like a laboratory.
There you go. Full of Morty's memories. They're color-coded. We find out why later. And Rick takes great pleasure in the fact that they are going to do this yet again, which is a total surprise to Morty. So I guess his memory of doing this before had also been erased and is in one of those vials on the back shelf.
Yeah, and there were thousands of them that are just laying around. So this is something that happens kind of all the time. So I wonder if this also has something to do with the way Morty is, the fact that he's constantly having his brain fucked with, and shit plucked out of it. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah, and as we go through the memories too, a lot of some of them are very contrary to what previous to this episode we actually knew about Morty.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that, especially his. I didn't know about the hate that went on for Men in Black 2, which is a terrible movie. I'm just going to say that out loud. It's a terrible movie. But I
think it was a dark time for all of us. A dark time for all of us.
It was a dark time for all men who sometimes wore black.
Indeed. Moment of silence.
Great.
Oh, okay. My favorite part about that is that cricket started chirping. So, here we go. All right. So, basically, that's the whole point, right? Like, not too much story. Like, Morty wants shit removed. Rick takes great pleasure in this because then he gets to relive. It's like sadistic, right? Like, by doing this, he gets to relive pretty much himself being a dick to Morty. Like, he gets to revel yet again in Morty's misery via these erased memories. Yep. So... Let's attempt to go through them, shall we?
Okay.
All right. The first one is Moonspiracy, where Morty thinks he sees just a guy hanging out on the moon.
Yeah. What a ridiculous concept.
Right.
That this villain from like the 1920s that you would think would tie up a woman and place her on a railroad track. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the guy.
Right, very Snidely Whiplash, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw him. Is just so happens to be on the moon or whatever, and no one believes Morty because it's crazy.
Right. I feel that the pitch meeting went like this. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Brian.
We got to write this episode of Rick and Morty. We got a deadline coming up.
Shit. All right.
I know. See, the people really want the interdimensional cable thing, but I don't really feel like doing that today.
Okay.
But I feel the people still really want like a vignette episode where we just like go through a bunch of shit, right?
Yeah, well, we come up with all this shit on the side anyway. So like, why don't we just kind of mash it all together and then say fuck it?
Right. Okay. So let's just pull something off the board here. I'll give you the setup, and you give me the basic premise of how it'll play out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. I have one in my hand. It's okay. Morty sees a guy on the moon. Now, what
Okay.
could this guy do on the moon that would freak Morty out?
Just creep around like a weirdo. Like that tiptoe creepiness that you get from like a Snidely Whiplash, someone who should have a top hat but doesn't have a top hat.
Right. Now he's not killing anybody?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Is he building any sort of mechanism that might bring about the end of the world?
I don't know. Maybe later on. I'm just coming up with this shit off the top of my head right now. So like, just this weirdo dude shows up, but he actually shows up. Like Morty ends up actually seeing the guy on the moon from the moon at school or something.
I gotcha. But when Morty sees him on the moon, he's just a guy on the moon.
He's just a dude creeping around. So like and should have background music like dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
All right, print it. Next vignette. I feel I literally feel like that's how the conversation went. Like, that's just a guy on the moon, right?
Yeah,
so
just a dude.
This freaks Morty out, and he brings it back to his family, and they're freaked out that Morty would make up such an absurd tale.
Yeah, especially after all the things that they've been through. They know that stupid stuff happens all the time.
Right, yeah.
But this just even seems outside of the realm for that.
The realm of possibility that there's just a dude hanging out on the moon.
Right.
So, Morty goes to school, ends up there's a new guidance counselor, which, as they mentioned that just about anybody is qualified to do.
Yes.
Nice little jab.
Get him in while you can.
Yep, exactly. And Morty goes to report that this dude that he saw on the moon kind of doing nothing, but was just kind of creepy that he was hanging out on the moon. He, informs Principal Vagina, no relation. And Principal Vagina takes care of the problem.
Right. He takes care of the problem like some 70s dad took care of problems down in the South, is what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Because he just goes out there and essentially says that he's a pederast and then starts beating his ass.
Yeah, and Mr. Lunas just kind of takes his ass whooping and leaves, but apparently that's the straw that breaks the camel back. That is, I guess, the last insult in apparently a long string of insults.
Yeah.
Right? It's
yeah.
Apparent. Just from that one moment, you could tell that Mr. Lunas apparently has not had the best life ever.
No, it sounds like he just goes school to school being a guidance counselor and then being run out of town for being a pederast.
And
so,
he can't take it anymore. He kills himself, and we find out that he was actually a Marine.
Yeah, well respected Marine.
Yeah.
That took his own life after all of the trials and tribulations he's been through, but Morty finally pushed him over the edge. Not unknowingly, but it was all Morty's fault.
And if there's one thing anybody could say about him is that he looked like a smudge.
He probably the smudgiest guy I've ever seen. If I really, could put it together.
Yeah. Morty is pretty distraught about the death. He goes back, and it turns out that what Morty saw was actually a smudge, and Morty is all distraught that he killed a guy.
Yeah, well, hey, guess what? It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, well, you live and learn. Live and learn, really.
Right.
You can't go through life without breaking a few people's life force.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Rick, not too concerned that Morty just caused a man to kill himself.
But he sees it every day, or does it? I mean, there's not like a whole lot of difference there for him.
Yeah, life is fleeting. Then we reach Morty's menagerie, where Rick and Morty are apparently caught in a very Brainiac type zoo, right? Like, as a Superman, the Brainiac collects. Yeah, okay, so this sci-fi trope has been used by, just about anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, just about anything where the sci-fi, there's always like the weird alien that collects species from around the world, from planets he presumably destroys, and kind of keeps them for his own entertainment. And Rick and Morty are caught up by a guy that just looks like a giant light bulb.
Yeah. Which, whatever, sure. But yeah, he just goes around staring at his collection of odd pets all day. So which is fine. And then it turns into the movie Contact.
Is that what happened in the movie Contact?
So in the movie Contact with, what's her name? Jodie Foster, I think.
Okay.
Scientist and Matthew McConaughey. Can't forget Matthew McConaughey. Scientists receive all these signals that are coming from outer space. They come in a pattern, and then they start downloading them, which turns into, they figure out what they're meaning, and then they build a machine because it looks like plans for a machine. And then Jodie Foster gets in the machine, and she's transported to another world, and she meets like her dad and sees like the a galaxy, hundreds of millions of light years away, billions of light years away, and then comes back and tries to tell everyone about it, but the ship craft that she was in, like, just fell through the portal. As far as everyone else was concerned, whereas where it went into the portal, she experienced this for days, and then it just came back out in the exact same spot. So to an observer, it looked like nothing happened.
Gotcha.
So this is essentially exactly that same plot where Rick puts together, just basically tells Morty to hold on a second. Let's get out. Well, I'll get us out of this. It takes apart a tube TV, which sends a signal to convince scientists to build a machine to come get them.
And they were very specific about the size of the passenger that had to be on the craft.
Oh, of course. You don't want the weight distribution to be off or anything like that.
Thank God that 3-person team at NASA happened to have an individual that met those exact standards.
And the billions of dollars worth of resources to throw this together in like a few hours.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. It's quite impressive how fast everybody does everything on this show.
Well, when you put your mind to it, Brian, you can do anything.
That's true. And it worked. It worked. Man, how harsh was that when the astronaut's like, we have so much to learn for you, and he's like, I know, right?
Yeah. How about trying to learn how not to be an asshole?
So great.
Yeah.
So great. All right. So, next up is the whole enchilada, where a Floopian, good name there as well, basically to fulfill his religious, I don't know what that is. Not a prophecy, but like his religious,
just like his
calling, I guess.
Yeah, his life goal, his calling, his whatever, sure.
Right, to appease his gods, he meets Rick and Morty, and he wants them to kill him. Seems like a lot of ways to go through to die, to get killed.
Well, I mean, at the end, the ultimate goal was to have like the most orgasmic rapture forever.
Right,
but it's a whole lot of big thing, because you have to be killed by a skilled warrior in order for it to work.
Right. There's no army or anything on his his planet. Maybe he just wanted to do some sightseeing before.
Well, if I'm going to think about this from the religious or prophetic point of view, to have just like an army on your world or something, do it. Maybe maybe this is the goal of that whole world. And if they are a warrior society, maybe they consider themselves equals, so they wouldn't be like a great warrior to fight. So then it wouldn't count, and you don't get your orgasmic rapture or whatever it was called. All
right, fair enough. Rick goes to take a shit, and Morty, being optimistic, like happy-go-lucky Morty, thinks that it's wonderful that this guy has proof that everything that his religion preaches is actually going to come true in terms of the in terms of the afterlife.
Yeah,
which is nice. But then I guess
it's a nice conversation starter, especially if he's that if Zip or whatever his name was, is so on gung ho with this with being murdered that he's even going to sit down at a nice Mexican restaurant,
right,
and have a snack beforehand. He's got to be sure about this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you just don't go through with something like just because someone told you it's just the way it is.
Right, you just don't go to random Mexican restaurants unless you're kind of sure what the outcome is going to be.
Exactly.
And it's Floopian.
Mm-hmm.
Zip. But this gives Floopian second thoughts. He decides he wants to live, ends up getting crushed by a car.
Yes, the most unheroic way to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were pushing somebody or baby out of the way or something like that. Then I guess it could be heroic. But
well, but if he's got to be killed by a great warrior, but
right.
it really would have been a great turn of fate if he would have got the great warrior was like a green beret or something behind the driver's seat of the car.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. But nope, wasn't to be. So that meant that Floopian is going to his version of hell.
Yep. And I will say that this is another one that's stolen. And I only know this because the girlfriend was watching TV this weekend while I was just sitting there on my computer laptop, and she was watching Ghost, the Patrick Swayze Demi Moore movie from 1987.
This happened in Ghost?
Yeah. So when the good people who have shit left over, they have to come back and they finish it. Mm-hmm. But if you're a bad person and you die, then you come back until black shadow people come out of the ground and then take you to hell.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
God damn it! Now I'm gonna have to watch Ghost. I had no idea. Isn't Ghost the one with the fucking pottery wheel or some shit?
Yeah, that's at the very beginning.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was like a weird necrophiliac love story type thing. I had no idea
that's what I thought going into it. Yeah, and then I'm totally disappointed halfway through. I'm already halfway through my Viagra tablet by that point.
Right.
But whatever.
Yeah,
it was fine. It was fine.
I guess it's disconcerting to know that Patrick Swayze would make a ridiculous movie.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially after Roadhouse and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. God. I mean, those are serious dramatic achievements, and then he pulled some bullshit like that.
Yeah. Well, whatever. He's dead now. Anyway, next story.
Next story. What was it? It was Poopy AIDS copy. Poop AIDS copy. Poop AIDS _ copy. I'm sorry. Poop AIDS _ copy. Again, my awesome note-taking abilities.
No, Booger AIDS was... Oh, yeah, sorry. Booger AIDS is the one that got broken.
Right, yeah. Yes. And a travesty, really. I can't believe he didn't have a backup of that.
Yeah, I really would have wanted to know what Booger AIDS is, but, I can assume kind of what Poop AIDS is.
Right. Well, the man said it himself is that, he needs to get better at labeling his vials, but Poop AIDS _ copy apparently seems to be some sort of catch-22 situation. It's kind of like where Spider-Man has to save, either whatever.
It was Gwen Stacy or something else.
Right, or when Batman had to save either the bad guys or the good guys, which is a dumb choice. What kind of choice is that?
This is a Sophie's choice. If we're gonna continue to steal from movies, let's just go with that one, where a woman has to choose which one of her children are going to die of the two.
Yeah, and Beth, what a bitch! Almost without hesitation, picks Summer.
Oh yeah, well, fair enough. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, given the choice, I'm not their mom. I'm not Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, she had her mind made up, so good for her for having convictions and sticking to it.
Mm-hmm. But Rick shows up just in the nick of time and conveniently kills the alien that was apparently holding them hostage and giving them this scenario. So my questions is does Beth and Summer have this memory removed as well, or did it just happen they just kind of never brought it up again?
Interesting question, Brian.
Yeah, that was my first one. And go ahead. I'll let you postulate on that for a second before I bring up my second one.
Okay. Well, we do learn here that Rick has also had memories removed, because they have, and Summer knows about the whole facility. We find out at the end of the episode. So, I don't know. I would think it's possible that maybe Rick does this all the time, and maybe these aren't just all Morty's memories laying around in there. Maybe they're an amalgam of the family.
Or maybe in upcoming seasons we'll have like Summer's mind blowers or Beth mind blowers.
Well, because at the end we've got some Jerry stuff.
Yeah. So maybe he has just multiple repositories of removed memories for various people he has come across in his adventures. And
it honestly seems like that'd be more trouble than it's worth all the time. To like try to convince someone to go down into something that they've been into before, but you stole their memory of it, so they don't know. All the time, just to remove the tiny memory of like one time you fucked up.
Right. And the second question I had is, could Rick have possibly set that up? Like
the timing or the choice?
Like he just kind of seems nonchalant to like pop in there, and I know he was like, "What's up with you assholes?" Like as they're all caught.
Yeah, because he was like running to like he was trying to save them, but he was going like moon to moon on Saturn because they didn't describe it right or something like that.
Right, they should after a certain point they should start using numbers instead of names. But my point is right, like Beth automatically picks Summer. Morty witnesses that, and he gets all. Like you can see, he's like, "Oh, like bullshit," like what a shitty choice to make. So he witnessed Beth almost without hesitation picking Summer as a child that she would pick to live. Then Rick conveniently pops in and saves the day, right? And the whole point of the series is that Morty and Rick are forever intertwined. Could this be some big scheme just to not really drive a divide in the family, but more solidify Morty's loyalty to Rick?
Well, I would say yes. That makes total sense. If Rick's not pulling the memory out, because if he removes the memory, then what's the point of the whole exercise?
Touche. All right.
But I like where your head's at with that, and trying to think that he's using everyone else to build up his relationship with Morty, whether Morty likes it or not.
Yep. Next up, we have Voldemortron, the Destroyer of Worlds, and this actually made me gag. It was like the giant tapeworm-looking thing coming out of Morty's mouth. Like, at first, it made him like a supervillain, and then because everybody apparently showed some modicum of affection, it didn't even seem like sincere affection. Apparently,
well, at first, it kind of did. At first it did, because it's the same thing that happens in Poltergeist. That they try to get the kid to come from the light area.
Yeah.
But for Beth and Summer to stand there and even Rick to join in saying, come on, you got to fight, we love you. You can defeat this stupid worm thing, whatever it is. It starts out really sincere until the worm actually starts coming out. Yeah. And then they're just disgusted, and then go back to just making fun of him because it looks like a huge turd coming out of his mouth.
Oh my god! It's like I was like, like as I was watching it, it was like grossing me out. So my question about this one is: was the memory removed because of all the pain and everything that Morty went through from being like a demonic, almost like supervillain,
like possessed? Okay,
right? Yeah. Or was it removed because Rick said that he loved Morty?
Ooh.
Yeah, how's that for shit?
Ooh, okay. I could see that. I was going to say more for the fact that, he was probably going through a horrific amount of pain with that worm that was like 4 times the size of him, hanging out of his mouth forever while his family stood around and made fun of him.
Right.
But it's not the worst thing he's ever been through.
Right.
So maybe it is because Rick was just trying to pull that out, that saying that he said he loved him.
Yep.
Very clever there, Brian. Points.
Thank you. Then I didn't get the name of it, but I think the thing was Bebo. I don't remember the name of the fucking memory, but it was like Bebo got cut open.
Yep.
Right? Okay, so like once again, I've never seen a fucking Star Wars, but I know that at some point in Star Wars they cut open some sort of animal and crawl inside to escape the frigid night air.
Yes, it is it's a Tauntaun during the Empire Strikes Back, and they're on the Hoth, or the ice planet Hoth. And Han Solo finds Luke Skywalker, who was trapped in a cave and had to defeat a I can't remember the name of a Wampa. And then the Wampa kicked his ass pretty bad, and he was going to die. So the only way to keep him warm overnight, because it was a blizzard, because it's an ice planet, was to cut open his Tauntaun, which was kind of like a two-legged camel, kangaroo thing, and keep him warm using the body heat overnight, and in protection from the harsh winds of the ice desert.
Yep, and but here in Rick and Morty, completely unnecessary. Rick thought that he had the timing of the ice over down to the split second, then realizes he's on the wrong planet.
Yep. So poor Bebo. Wah, wah.
Yep. My bad, dog. My bad. Then Tron. There's some sort of weird fucking Tron thing. I'm assuming it's Tron. Again, I've never seen Tron. I just assume. I just assume any sort of suits with weird neon highlights.
Sure.
which is terrible battle gear. Who goes and fights anybody? You know, that'd be like the military having camouflage to where they can't be seen, but for some reason have these beacons on them just to alert everybody of exactly where they're at.
Like, maybe eventually in the future, everyone realizes that war is bad, and then it becomes laser tag.
Okay, fair enough.
Then everyone realizes that laser tag isn't really doing much, so they start using real weapons, but they keep the uniforms because they thought they were awesome.
Okay. I just assumed that it was Tron because of the neon.
I could see that. I mean, it looks Tron-esque, or looked Tron-esque. I thought it was a little more like, I don't know actually which show. It was just like another sci-fi show. I think I've seen stuff like that before, where people, like, that's kind of the uniform. But I didn't pull Tron. That's all.
Yeah, the whole... And pretty much they set it up like this is a big action piece, but pretty much what it was is just because Rick thought it was taken for granted instead of taken for granted.
Yep.
So
just he had this memory removed, just so that way he wouldn't remember that Rick's an idiot.
Yeah, slight embarrassment, right?
Or Rick doesn't know everything.
Yeah, which was hinted at in the Bebo one because he was on the wrong planet.
Right.
Rick,
it wasn't. Yeah, I could say then maybe. Yeah, was the memory removed because Rick messed up because he was on the wrong planet, or was it removed because, you know, the friend that they made, the friend animal that they Morty made, was brutally murdered in front of him?
Look at that,
for no good reason.
Yeah, and then I would think because then when you see this taken for granted thing, then I would go with that it was just embarrassing to Rick.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Then we have Morty jerking off a phlegm alien.
Yes. I will again point out the fact that I love whenever they make aliens for whatever reason, that they always have testicles somewhere.
Right.
Whether they're on their chin or their ears or the sides of their face, like jowls or whatever it is. Just everything has balls.
I would assume it's just to keep up the realism.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, twist harder.
Yeah,
harder, boy.
I found it weird that Rick is opposed to torture. Apparently.
Well, I don't know if
hasn't he like right? Well, maybe he's
tortured
just
before.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he was just being difficult just to be difficult.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just taking pleasure and making Morty do something like kind of odd and gross. But
maybe Rick had some knowledge of these people. That maybe they're tough to torture. So why not give them a little slap and tickle instead? They'll be more likely to talk.
Yeah, but Rick even says that there's just some lines he won't cross.
Well, I thought he was more making the comparison of like, you'll kill somebody, but you won't jerk them off. Like, come on, where's your line if you're gonna need the information.
Yeah.
You got to get the information somehow.
And everybody knows you can't do one without the other.
Well, someone's doing one of those at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Either someone's getting tortured or someone's masturbating.
Mm-hmm. And so, autoerotic asphyxiation.
Well, that's when you do it to yourself.
That's when
I just more meant there's always that glass wall there that people are sitting behind while someone's getting tortured, just furiously going at themselves.
Right. Yeah. High school. It was like high school.
Yeah.
Exactly. My favorite one, True Level.
Yes. So dumb. So dumb. Just the time and effort that was put into it. I do appreciate it, though. The fact that, in the time that Rick put into it, and all of the laser contraptions and everything else that he had to smooth it out, and fuck levels.
Yeah.
But the reaction of him standing on it for less than 30 seconds and then having to readjust completely to the real world that's not that level, that actually did make me laugh out loud.
Mm-hmm. I love that Summer, completely unimpressed.
Mm-hmm.
She's become really kind of cold in this season, right? Like the only thing this season that really seemed to spark any emotion from her, like astonishment, and it was when Mrs. Pancakes told her lover that he does know her.
Well, I was astonished also, and I don't even watch the show regularly. The Life and Times of Mrs. Pancakes.
It was truly our generation's Who Shot JR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody remembers where you were when you found out somebody does, in fact, know Mrs. Pancakes.
Mm-hmm. I was on my couch 3 weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Memories, wow. My
second favorite one next up is the light ship, the light switches.
Yeah.
Just a simple mistaken flip of the switch apparently murders at least 10 people.
Yeah, and just I don't know. The way Rick brings it up as you messed up, just admit you messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Plus, I told you blatantly it was the one on the left. And you just went around flipping stuff like you didn't listen to me. What the hell? This was like the simplest job. How it just spun completely out of control from that. It gave me internal joy.
Right. It was like a long, very derisive like line of questioning when he could have just said, dude, you flipped the wrong fucking switch.
Right.
But he did try to correct it.
He did.
So
then we get taken to the bunker.
Yeah, and they got. I love the grab a shovel thing where he just won't explain. He's just like grab a shovel. And for some reason, Morty flips another switch.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to find a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Kind of. I guess presumably he was trying to turn on the light to the closet or whatever that he has the shovel in, but. But I guess I think it'd be safe to assume that he killed at least 10 more people.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
God willing.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have the zip tie magnet.
I like to think of it more as just a general magnet, since you can type in what you want to find. Because we find out Morty still has his deals. He still has his likes.
Yeah, he really digs the redheads, right? Like in the episode where he became a stockbroker or whatever with the toxins and all that, right? His live-in girlfriend in New York City was a rather busty redhead with freckles on her boobs. We chatted about that.
Yes, and then that's Morty's kink. So cool, whatever he wants.
Yeah,
I guess their own.
Must have. Now I wonder if all those redheads happen to be named Jessica. He must have typed in redhead.
That's what I'm guessing. He typed in redhead,
right? Because he couldn't have typed in Jessica.
Because there would have been all sorts of things, or hell, you could have gotten some dogs and cats in there.
Right. Yeah. So he must have typed in redheads.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, so good for Morty. Good for Morty.
And hopefully he remembers he has that for later on.
Mm-hmm. Moving along, Morty decides he wants to hear animals talk and stumbles upon the realization that squirrels pretty much run the world.
And have. Forever.
Yeah. They are the Illuminati. For more or less, or for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, on a quick side note, I actually get emails from the Illuminati. I don't even know how I got signed up for this.
You get emails from the Illuminati.
I swear to God, that's what this place... These people, that's what they're supposed to be. But I get like a monthly newsletter.
Is it like the Illuminati.biz or something like that?
I think it's actually Illuminati.com. It's pretty ridiculous. I should start reading them on air on Nothing Important.
I just it's a guess. I don't think if there is a real Illuminati that they're going to have a very public, blatant domain like that, and then send out a weekly newsletter to just kind of whomever.
Exactly. That's my point, right? Like why would I get that? Why?
In case you want to know what's going on in the world, or where the world's going, I guess to say.
Yep. Not to be confused with Luminati's, which is the pizza place here in Chicago.
Right. That's more delicious type of taking over the world.
Right. This is actually the email from the Illuminati, since we're on this, that I got on September 20th from the Illuminati. Yeah. So it says, Brian, since our origination, Illuminati members have dedicated themselves to the advancement of the human species by taking oaths of commitment. These pledges are a core tradition of the Illuminati, formed and written contracts between a single person and all members of humanity. The first pledge of the Illuminati is the eternal oath. And then, I swear to God, it has a big fucking red button that says, click here to view the eternal oath.
Oh, that doesn't sound like it'll give you a virus or anything at all.
Right. You'd be happy to know that they're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, right? Which is cool.
Maybe maybe that button also takes you to the Equifax website.
Oh man, that'd be so sweet.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I love how the email ends. It has a rather ominous, "We are always watching out for you."
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a positive but creepy.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like I've been getting these literally for like 2 years.
If I don't understand the point of them sending out an email that reminds you, if you're part of the Illuminati, that you had to at one point taken an oath, and then here, push this button that takes you to a virus to remember that oath. You want to know why do you need to be reminded like that? That just doesn't seem right to me.
You want to know my super favorite part of this email?
Please.
It says, important communications for Brian. That's in bold. It says, messages from the Illuminati may contain important updates regarding your membership. However, if you no longer wish to receive messages from the Illuminati to this address, you may unsubscribe or change your settings.
That's a lot easier to get out of than a college fraternity.
Right. Exactly. So I guess I just found out that it's actually ran by a bunch of fucking squirrels.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Nice.
I guess back to the squirrel piece. We also find out that this squirrel shit's deep and bad to the point where they had to use up one of their worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking about that when they mentioned, because in this episode he says, I told you we could only do this about 2 more times. But when the first time we saw an instance of them hopping dimensions, he stated that like 11 or so more times.
Right.
So there's been probably multiple dimensional hops since then. So my question is, do Rick and Morty still wake up every day next to their dead bodies?
Possibly, because if they're jumping world to world, the ones that were dug up at the beginning of the season were not necessarily. Well, let's think about that. I guess it depends on when this squirrel takeover thing happened. Because if the squirrel takeover thing happened, or this whole squirrel subplot happened after the first episode of the season, but it was removed from his head before this time, then something got jacked up.
Right? Yeah.
Because you have to kind of think, unless it happened in multiple dimensions where the same two people were buried, and the same Summer and Morty knew about it, or it just happens all the time that there's always two dead Rick and Mortys in the backyard.
Yeah.
So maybe this did happen, and shit, they've just gone through shitloads of worlds in the past couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's let's see. Following that one, I think according to my notes, this is kind of where it kicked into overdrive.
Yeah.
Right. It just kind of like you watch it because like Morty's freaking out and putting the stuff in his helmet. Which, by the way, I love the way that was animated.
Oh, the zoom in, zoom out, flash type thing.
Yeah, as it was like spinning, and then he was putting the stuff in his head. Anyway, the ones that caught my eye is apparently Morty or Mr. Poopy Butthole at some point proposed to Morty. Morty gets his hand cut off.
Yep.
Morty gets turned into a monster.
Yeah, that was the very first one. It was like in like a container, like The Fly or something like that. He just gets turned into a monster.
And Morty beats Rick at checkers.
Morty gets pooped out.
Oh, yeah.
Morty has to bury Santa Claus.
Right? Okay, yeah.
The one that made me laugh out loud for whatever reason, Rick runs into a tree while skiing.
I think because it's just very cartoonish.
Right.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of other like little flash ones in there though, but those are the ones that I kind of had noted. There
was a Ghostbusters one in there too.
Yeah, I had to go back and watch that one because someone sent that to me. Did you see the Ghostbusters thing?
Yeah.
And it's only in there for like 5 frames. I mean, it's not big at all, but Rick's trying to catch Ghost Morty, who looks like Casper almost because he's Morty. And just round and things. But yeah.
Yeah. And I also have here Snuffles.
Snuffles. There was a Morty's head was put on Snuffles' body.
Yeah, that's Yeah. See, Rick should have built that Morty the helmet, and then Morty could have been super fucking smart.
And then they could kept on their adventures.
Yeah. See there? Maybe they wouldn't have to keep hopping realities so often. I like to see the series end where they're just kind of out of realities.
And they have to deal with whatever they actually got?
Mm-hmm. Which would be the most unsatisfying and shitty ending to a series ever. Like, it's just this sucks. Like, that's it. That's the whole story.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so they go through all these memories and such, and pretty much what happened that we didn't talk about, somewhere in the middle there, Morty and Rick get into a fight and erase each other's memory. So they're just flashing through and trying to figure out who exactly they are and what their relationship to is each other. And eventually Summer comes in, again, completely unimpressed or unsurprised by anything that she's witnessing.
Kind of just coming in to say hi, almost.
Like, yeah, it's like she was
bored. Down here again. She's eating like a popsicle and some shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's when you get your first clue that that she's seen this several times before, because she's like, you guys are doing Morty's Mind Blowers again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she has contingency plans.
So I've never noticed that she wears a key necklace.
Does she wear it in previous episodes?
No, but I mean, she just pulls this necklace this key off from around her neck. That's there to open the secret panel with the contingency plans.
Mm-hmm. And there's at least 4 contingency plans.
Rick, I believe, has probably sat down and worked out these scenarios before, or they've honestly happened before, and there was some weird shit really had to go on.
Yeah,
but this is all the way up to a level 4 now. So.
Right, level 3 was Rick didn't remember Rick remember. I got the impression level 3 was Rick still remembered who he was. Level 4, Rick loses his memory.
Right.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's anything over 4, and I'd like to know what 1 and 2 is.
I just guess your normal incapacitation of some type, or maybe Rick knows what's going on, but Morty kills Rick. Because that could be worse. That could be less worse than Rick actually forgetting who he is. especially given all the enemies Rick's made around the multiverse.
Yeah.
So.
Summer pretty much incapacitates both Rick and Morty, puts them on the on the couch where they're watching interdimensional cable, and the show on interdimensional cable is House Hunters, where there's literally two dudes with rifles and Elmer Fuddhead tracking and hunting a house.
Yep.
They get them, though.
Oh, yeah. A nice big blood spurt and everything.
Yeah, see, I would have liked to see how they would have field dressed a house. Like how they would have prepared it for transport.
I guess we'll never know.
I guess we will never know. She also mentions that she doesn't get paid enough for that, so I wonder if Rick keeps her on the dole as a backup plan, for such an occasion.
Or it was a snide comment that she doesn't get paid for it at all, but she's still responsible to do it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I do like to think that Rick's feeding her on the side a little bit just to watch over Grandpa's stuff while Grandpa goes out and does things.
Mm-hmm. So eventually Rick and Morty wake up and they just kind of start laying into Summer.
Right, just like it was a normal thing. Mm-hmm. Why did we end up here? You're a bitch. Bitch, bitch, bitch. Bitch, bitch, bitch. You're such a bitch, bitch.
Yeah, did you happen to freeze frame on the scenario for instructions?
No, I didn't.
It goes through exactly what happens. Retrieve the gun, do the vials, remove the helmets, put it in. Then it even goes to put them on the couch, turn on the interdimensional cable, rub the salts under their nose, and number 10 is when Rick and Morty awake, leave the room. So she totally failed.
She fucked up then, yeah. So
yeah,
it's all her fault.
Yeah,
she had to take it.
That's all on her. Maybe that's why she stood there. She's like, you know what? I didn't follow through. And that's my fault.
You got to learn lessons sometimes.
Which is good to see her take responsibility for her actions.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just have to face the consequences, and it's good to see that she did that. I hope she learns for the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So 5.5 years from now, when we get season 5, and then they do Beth's mind blowers, and she has to save them yet again. Hopefully, she will have learned her lessons. Yeah. That's right, multiple lessons she should have learned by that point.
Well, actually, that's the theme of next week's episode.
Yeah.
It seems like is
the ABCs of Beth.
Yes,
and. Real quick before we get to that post-credit scene, Jerry's mind blowers, where apparently he kills E.T.
His name is Gobo. Thank you.
Sorry, he kills Gobo. Forgets he's in a car.
Yeah, in another completely stolen movie scenario that goes hilariously wrong. Mm-hmm. I did laugh when the body. I kind of knew where it was going when they went out to the car, but I did laugh when the body just hilariously flops out of the car. just backwards.
Yeah. Just kind of slumps out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Gobo must have been a damn idiot if he couldn't figure out how to unlock the door.
Right? Well, unless it had child lock.
But you can go to the front seat.
That's true. I guess
that's always the way around child locks, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the front seat.
Mm-hmm. Especially when your car's in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Try to get out while the car's moving.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd like to thank Waze again for not sponsoring this podcast, but it's showing up on there. So when you're driving to work,
go
ahead and ditch yourself on the interstate while you're using Waze.
Another potential death situation brought to you by the fine folks at Waze. Waze. Just pretend you're not. Just pretend you're the passenger, because that's what it does. It cracks me up. Like if you try to use it, it'll say, "Uh-oh, can't use it while I'm driving," and then it has a button that says where you can either signify if you're the passenger, or you can click "Uh-oh," which I guess presumably doesn't let you use a lot of the features on Waze.
It shuts your phone down completely, and you see smoke come out of it. Like it fries the internal circuitry of your phone,
and then self-destructs.
Yeah,
thus killing you. Waze is a very no-win proposition. If it isn't self-destructing your phone, assholes with podcasts are advertising on construction sites.
Exactly. So, again, people, we'd like to thank all of our listeners from Waze. Waze. Traffic moving too fast, start your own accident with Waze.
Indeed. So, next week, the ABCs of Beth. I guess we'll get to see a more in-depth look at the relationship between Beth and Rick. And
I'm thinking it's going to kind of bookend the series here, because 2 or 3 episodes in is where we got.
Why are you at the racetrack right now?
I'm not. I'm outside of my house in the backyard sitting, and people around here are assholes with motorcycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
anyway, I would say that it seems to kind of bookend the season, because 1 or 2 episodes into season 3 here is when they head to the therapist. Mm-hmm. And we really get insight into what's going on in Beth's head and her relationship with Rick. So now, here at the end of the season, we're going to finally figure that out in a real Rick and Beth adventure.
Nice. And the only thing that we know for sure is that he created an entire world for her.
Yeah, which, the way she treats or comes off on that, I thought that's kind of shitty, because, it was complicated as fuck.
Right. My dad didn't even build me a tree house.
My dad just left.
Right. It's funny because it's true.
Because it's true, yeah.
So on that note, looking forward to seeing next week's episode. Looking forward to chatting with you, Jeff, about next week's episode. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at Plumbus Among Us. Please make sure to keep up, to give us some 5-star reviews on iTunes. Keep clicking, keep downloading, and tell your friends. Check us out on the Nothing Important podcast. Check us out on It's All Good Men at itsallgoodmen.com and on the TV Time app, just like this very podcast. And please make sure to check us out on Waze.
Yeah.
And I'm just
or anywhere you want to advertise, folks. Feel free, for the most part. Use some kind of good judgment. Make it funny. So.
Yeah, exactly. And something.
Feel free to reach out and contact us on Twitter.
Indeed.
We like the comments. We like the things.
Exactly. And something Moonmen.
Shut the fuck up about Moonmen.
That's the best way to end that.
Okay.